friends. I'm still figuring out the background. Clearly I have like so much empty space because I'm just building up the collection at this point. There's more books to be had, but yeah, I'm still figuring it out. I'm torn on if I want like all of my hardbacks here, all my paperbacks over there. I don't know. I'm not sure. But that's besides the point. That has nothing to do with today's video. Today's video, I am doing the Deja Vu book tag. I was tagged by Eliza over by Eliza's Bookshelves. I will leave her link down below, as well as the original creator of the tag, so you guys can go blah blah blah. So you guys can go check them out. There we go. So let's just jump right into this with question number 1. Do you reread, and how often? No, I don't actually do a lot of rereading. I have many books that I want to reread, but I haven't yet done the rereading, you know? I've only reread Heartstopper so far in my entire life. That's the only book I've properly reread. I do have The Dead in the Dark that I'm hoping to reread. I really would like to reread Caraval. There's a few like OG books that I read in high school or middle school that I would like to reread as an adult. Perks of Being a Wallflower I read once, but would read that again. So yeah, no, I'm not a rereader typically, but I would like to get into it. Why do you or why don't you reread? The reason I don't actually do a lot of rereads is it's really simple. This is my second year of seriously reading books. I started back in January of 2021, getting really back into reading. I decided to do the Buzzwordathon. I set a goal of like 13 or so books to read last year, and I ended up reading 75. And as you can see, I now have my own little library corner, so you could say that I've become quite the reader. But with that said, I don't reread books that I enjoy or want to read again because there's just not enough time. I want to read so many books. Most of the books on the shelf I've never read, and I would love to read the books that I have or new books that are coming out. I'm trying to stay on top of so many different books, backlists, new releases, books I already own, books that I want to buy. Like, there's just so many, and there's so little time to do all of the readings. So it's hard for me to justify rereading something like The Dead in the Dark when I could read instead House of Hollows. You know? It's just, there's this like small little part of me that gets a little guilty rereading something, unless it's a graphic novel like Heartstopper, which goes pretty quick and doesn't feel like it's cutting into my like true reading time, if that makes any sense. Question number 3, what's been your favorite book to reread? I guess Heartstopper, because that's the only one. I really enjoy rereading Heartstopper. It's like a comfort read for me. The show is a comfort show. The books are comforting. Like, it just makes you feel like very warm and fuzzy. The other, I guess you could say, reread that I've enjoyed is Caraval. I've started. I was reading it with Austin as like my bedtime story, and I'd fall asleep like every 5 pages. So we've taken a pause, but it's one of my favorite books, so I definitely would love to experience that again. Question number 4, what would you like to reread? Caraval, The Dead in the Dark, you know, the drill. What else besides those? I would actually I'm gonna get chewed up for this. I'm really excited to reread the Red Rising saga. No, I haven't finished Morningstar. I'm still on chapter 19, like I have been the last like 4 months. Yeah, I have plans to finish, but I'm very excited to read it again because I really enjoyed the first book especially, but I feel like rereading the series is just it's gonna give me like this different kind of joy. I can just feel it. So I'm really excited to read that again. Question number 5, what book do you predict what book do you predict that will be so good that you want to reread it? Something I haven't read that I think I'll want to reread. What have I not read? Most of my shelves, but I still don't know what I haven't read. Let's think. I think Belladonna could be a very good reread. I know that the sequel is, I was going to say in production. I don't know if that's the correct term, but I know that Belladonna is going to have a sequel. I'm not sure if it's a duology, but I could see myself reading it and then rereading it again because I have very high hopes for this. I feel like The Cruel Prince, not read that, but everyone loves it. It's like a booktube classic, a booktube fave, so maybe that would be good as a reread. I've not read any Sarah J Maas, but like the girlies love to reread Sarah J Maas. So maybe whenever I pick up ACOTAR, I will want to read that because it's gonna be so good. Who knows? Who knows? Everyone loves it, so I'll predict that ACOTAR will be a reread. Question number 6, pick a book from your younger years that you think would be interesting to reread. Okay, I won't give away one series because I'm hoping to do a reread once I have all of the books, but the Storm Siren trilogy by Mary Weber I have not revisited. Storm Siren is the first book in this trilogy, and I read this in high school during my creative writing class. Like the first 15 minutes of class we had to read a book, and I got this on Book Outlet, I believe, and was really into it. I remembered nothing. I don't remember a single word of this, but I enjoyed it so much that I picked up the rest of the series, and I don't think I ever read the second book. No, I never finished beyond the first book, so I think this one for my younger self would be a good reread. I didn't really read a lot of books as a kid. I wasn't like a child reader, really. I loved books, I loved reading, but I was very slow at reading. I was very anxious about reading. I used to have to practice in my room like reading out loud because that testing that they would do where you had to read to the proctor out loud and like have like the little line, like the paper blocking the words below. Yeah, traumatizing. So I definitely wasn't a big reader as a kid and definitely was a bit of a poser. But yeah, I didn't read a lot as a kid, and what I did read, I don't remember. I've truly blocked out so much of my reading taste. Another series I'm looking at on my romance is the I Love You, I Miss You, I Need You trilogy. I don't know what it's called. It's a romance series. It's a stepbrother romance, so I don't know if my like adult self wants to read that, but at the same time I loved the series. Never finished it. My bookmark is still in the third book, but I would be interested to see how my new adult self would feel, you know? Alright, tell us a series or book that is so big or complex you need to reread to better understand. That's a great question. Probably Red Rising. Yeah, definitely Red Rising. Maybe Scythe? I don't know. So far, I'm enjoying it. I'm not too confused, but maybe. But definitely Red Rising. I think I could pick up on so much more throughout the beginning of the books that like led up to especially the ending of the second book. I want to reread that series because I want to like spot the like tiny little tell signs that like shit's about to hit the fan, you know? Okay. Next question is there a specific type of genre you think is best or worse for reread potential? So the best reread potential, manga and graphic novels, because they're short, they're sweet, they're comforting, you just enjoy them. Like I love rereading manga. I want to reread so many graphic novels that I've read, so definitely graphic novels. I also think that fantasy, horror fantasy in general is great for rereading. Even fantasy romance, honestly, I think you could get a lot out of a reread because it's just so comforting and cozy. Like A Lesson in Vengeance by Victoria Lee. I really enjoyed this romance. Well, not romance. I enjoyed this fantasy horror with a touch of kind of romance. But this is a book that I really enjoyed. I would reread it. Honestly, anything on the shelf that I've read, I think I could reread. Except for... yeah, no, any of them. So yeah, fantasy, horror, and thrillers, good reread. I don't think all thrillers, but specifically like Confessions, For Your Own Good, if there's like a good enough twist in a thriller, you could reread it, because there will be signs of what's going on at the beginning if the author does it well, and you can pick up on those tiny little things and you're just like, oh, I see, big brain. Worst? I think for rereading romance, as a non-romance reader, that's just my opinion, I don't think I see as much value in reading romance again, because you know the story, it's gonna be the same. It's not as comforting. I like romance, but I just never think about it, and I don't think to revisit the characters. Like, once it's wrapped up happily ever after, like, we're good, we're done here. I don't think I see a lot of value in rereading historical fiction. It's pretty straightforward, you know what's going on. And literary, I'm torn on. This is why I've been staring off into space. With literary fiction, or general fiction, I think it could go either way. Like, you know how the outcome's gonna be. But I guess if you love the book, like Perks of Being a Wallflower, that's contemporary romance, literary. I'll reread that because I love it. The Midnight Library is fantasy, literary, that I could see myself rereading. But I know people that love A Little Life, and they will read that over and over. So I know that there's value in rereading literary fiction. Unsure though. Unsure. Alright, next, is there a book you've liked more upon reread? Sure, I like Heartstopper even more now that I've read it again. Although I will say, I've talked about this enough. I will show you the cover. The Dead in the Dark. I really want to read this. I bought a copy so that I could physically read along or read it without the audiobook, because I originally listened to the audiobook. I think that rereads are great when you love an audiobook, you fall in love with the book, you buy the book, because you're not going to spend money on every book you read, and then you can reread it and it gets better. I feel this way about The Dead in the Dark and Horrid. I bought Horrid so that I could reread it because I really enjoyed the audiobook, but I felt like I missed a couple things, and I feel like rereading these will make them 5 stars when they originally are 4. So I definitely see value in rereading them, and I think that they'll be 5 stars, hopefully. Next question, is there a book you've liked less upon reread? No, but I'm sure at some point that will happen. Like, I'm sure when I read series that I read as my younger self, I probably won't like them as much as I remember liking them. So it'll happen, I'm sure. If you reread, let us know a book you'd like to reread before the end of the year. So many. So besides the ones that I've mentioned, is there anything else? There are just so many books that I need to read already that I don't want to swamp myself with too much rereading, but we're gonna go with Caraval. I know I've mentioned it already, I'm sorry, but I really need to read the entire Caraval series. I want to read all 3 books, and then I also would love to jump in Once Upon a Broken Heart, and now that the Ballad of Never After has come out, I really want to read that because everyone is freaking out by the ending. I don't think it's a duology, I think it's a trilogy, and I want to be in the know. So that's definitely like the series that I would love to reread, so I could read the next books. And the final one is to tag some friends. Okay, I'm going to tag Melody Rose, I'm going to tag Violet Pages, and I'm going to tag Adriana's Wonderland, because I think they would all have good answers, and I think it'd be interesting to know how they feel about rereading. Especially Adriana, because she reads a lot of middle grade, so I know that she's probably reread some of those, and I'd be interested to know those answers. So, you 3, and anybody else who wants to, do this tag. and then let me know so I can watch it. Thanks. I love content to watch. So that's it. If you want to do this tag, feel free to do it. Consider yourself tagged. You can say that I tagged you and I will check out your video, or wherever else you might do it. If you have a blog, I'll check it out. But that is everything for the video. I'm gonna head out. I hope you enjoyed hanging out with me. Let me know how you feel about rereads. I know that it's not for everybody. I'm just now starting, so like I would love to hear some other perspectives, especially from seasoned rereaders. Like, let me know why. Let's chat about it. But that's it. Give this video a like if you enjoyed. Subscribe down below if you want to see more from Free. It is completely free, and I post like a heck ton at this moment in time. I'm doing Booktober. I never remember what it's called. I am doing Booktober right now, which is crazy. So if you want to see more from me, I'm posting every day in the month of October. So stick around for tomorrow's video, and I'll see you guys very soon. Literally tomorrow. I'll see you tomorrow. So bye.